Hey everyone, it's Simi Shah, and welcome to Trailblazers. On this podcast, I dive deep into the journeys of trailblazing South Asians, sharing the stories of the leaders and dreamers lighting the way across the South Asian diaspora. Our guest today is a trailblazer in a space we have yet to explore, and she is just such an incredible inspiration. I'm so thrilled to welcome Zarna Garg. Zarna Garg is one in a billion, an Indian immigrant mom who also became a stand-up comedian. She fundamentally believes that brown women everywhere have a right to laugh at anything and anyone they want. She initially grew up in India and immigrated to the United States when she was just a teenager. She attended the University of Akron in Ohio and Case Western's law school before she became a stay-at-home mom for 16 years. And then a few years ago, she decided to launch a career in comedy. Today, she is a regular at the iconic Comedy Cellar and Caroline's on Broadway in New York. She's performed in Vegas at the Daughters of the American Revolution Center in DC, the Kennedy Center, and has toured nationwide, opening for the likes of Tina Fey. She's a TikTok comedy sensation. She has won Kevin Hart's Lift Comics comedy competition. And most recently, she has a special out on Amazon Prime called, yes, you guessed it, One in a Billion. Zarna is an incredible comic who has truly made waves and charted completely new territory for South Asians in the entertainment and media space. I'm so thrilled to have her here today. Thanks for being here, Zarna.
Oh my God, I'm so excited to be here, Simi. Thank you so much for having me. Namaste to all your viewers and listeners. And I love your podcast. I've been following it for a long time, I think since the very early days. And I think that the work you're doing is so good and so inspiring. And you yourself are inspiring so many people with the work that you're doing that I'm thrilled to be a part of it.
Well, I can't even tell you how much it means to hear that coming from you because I feel so similarly with respect to the inspiration piece. I've spent a lot of time having these conversations as a working woman myself of what does it mean to manage the demands of work and family. And I think you're a testament to what that can look like for women everywhere. So I want to jump in, but first I have to ask, your comedy special, One in a Billion, is hot off the presses. It came out on May 16th. You've been deep in the comedy world for 5 years, and now you have your own special on a major streaming platform. How does it feel?
So the story of my life is that I don't really think things through. If there's anybody watching and listening who's like an accidental something, that's me. When I got the offer to do the special, I was like, sure, I'm making TikToks, I make Instagram Reels, we'll make a special. What's the difference? And then 3 days ago, this thing released all over the world, 242 countries.
Crazy.
Oh my God. I didn't really think it through. Honestly, I'm not like a grand architect of some big plan. I'm an accidental everything. I just try to do the best job that I can do with the job I have at hand and then pray to God and keep moving forward.
I love it. I love it. Well, huge congrats to you. And of course, today I want to spend some time going back to the beginning of the Zarna story. Can you talk to me about the inciting moment when you seriously thought, should I consider stand-up comedy?
So, of course, that's never an Indian woman's dream. I didn't even know what stand-up comedy was. I didn't know that it's a live performance thing. I had never been to a show myself. And my kids, my all-American kids, I have 3 kids, all born and raised right here in Manhattan, where I am even right now. And they knew I was struggling with re-entering the workforce. I was a stay-at-home mom for 16 years.
Yeah.
So I really wanted to get back to work. I was dying. I was really, really having a hard time just not finding my footing in anything. I knew I wanted to do something. Nothing was making sense. And I don't think I'm alone in being lost in that way. I think there's a lot of people, and especially women, if you've given up a decade plus of your life to raising kids, it's like you feel like the world has moved past you. You feel like the world moved on while you were changing diapers and now you're never going to catch up. And that was exactly where I was. I was very frustrated and upset. And I was like, there has to be something I can do. And my kids were like, Mom, you're so funny. Our friends love hanging out with you. Why don't you do stand-up comedy? And when you're a mom and you have kids and your kids say something, your first reaction is like, what do you know?
My mom definitely does that.
Right? And your first reaction is like, whatever your idea is, it's wrong. I was like, I'm looking for a job. You know what a job is? It pays money. And I was like, it has to pay. And then my kids, my daughter is like, Mom, stand-up comedy pays money. I'm like, no, it does not. And she actually undertook a whole project for my birthday. The story of that project is a New York Times Best of 2021 essay, because she reached out to all these people in my life, going back to my childhood, and asked them to send some notes about their relationship with me, knowing that most of them are going to say, she made us laugh or something like that. It was a whole elaborate project. Your listeners can look it up, and it's actually very sad the way the project makes people cry, which is great because I'm a comic, but like not really. No, it's a very thoughtful, sweet gift idea. And I encourage everybody to look it up, not for me or her, but because I want people to know that not all meaningful gifts have to cost money, because this didn't cost anything. So that's a whole another thing. But she did this. And of course, when she first did this project of reaching out to all these people, I was so angry with her. I was like, you need to study for the SAT. What are you doing? She was a junior in high school and I was panicked for her SAT scores. And I was like, why are you wasting time doing all this? And my son's friends would always come by. And now I'm really your typical Indian auntie. Anybody comes by, I want to know everything about them, what they're doing, where they're going, who they're dating, why they're doing, whatever they're doing, what are they going to do in college. I don't even think about it. I want to know, I want to know what the musician is going to do for a living. Like, what's that recruited athlete? Like, oh my God, that means you're not going to learn anything.
I heard this in the special. I already heard the spiel.
But every Indian mom is thinking this. Listen, am I making it up? We're all like, but what job are you going to do? And I can't help myself. My brain is so broken. I'm not kidding. Like, I will go into like Duane Reade, Walgreens, CVS. And if I see like a young checkout person, I'm like, but take the MCATs. Just take it. You don't have to actually go. Take the first step. Why are you here? Do something else.
I love this.
So I was doing that. And of course, the kids and their friends all get a laugh out of it. I try to be serious, but no one takes me seriously. That's a whole another tragedy. And so my kids were like, Mom, just do comedy. And I was like, that's not a thing. But then the three of them ganged up on me. Because for 15, 16 years, I made them do everything they didn't want to do. I made them eat things they didn't want to eat. I made them take every violin, piano. I mean, you name it. And my kids have been forced to do it. And they were like, oh, look who's scared now. Mom is too scared to try something new.
Oh my gosh.
And it really came from that place. I was like, I have to try it and just go one time so I can tell these kids that I tried it and they're so dumb and they're wrong. And then I went to an open mic. That's how I ended up in the basement of a Mexican restaurant in Manhattan where they were having an open mic.
Oh my God.
And that open mic changed my life.
Wow.
Yeah.
I want to quickly mention the story of the gift that Zoya gave you. It was a water dispenser, because you had a fascination with water dispensers at the time, full of 146 notes that she collected via email and a lot of electronic forms, but she hand wrote all of them.
Yeah.
And to your point, I think it proves that a gift like that can spur so much, and to that something that meaningful, it doesn't have to cost anything.
No. That's why I say the story everywhere. It's not me, it's not her. I feel like it's a reminder to all of us that if we care about somebody deeply, we can do something really thoughtful, and it doesn't have to cost a lot and it can change that person's life.
And I also think what's beautiful is, I know you said that you were like, she's a junior, she should have been studying for SATs, but that's the essay that got her into Stanford, right?
That's right. It's ironic.
So it all comes full circle. So I have to ask, Okay, you decide to go and do this open mic in a Mexican restaurant. Did you have a moment where you were like, there's something here? Or how did that start to develop?
No, so I went for the open mic not knowing at all what an open mic is. I just knew this is where something comedy happens and people go and do something about comedy here. That's all I knew. A mom friend of mine had told me that another mom friend of hers does a comedy thing in this basement. So I was like, okay, let me see what's up there. And I went there and for the first time, I saw, oh, people are going up on stage and just telling jokes. Still, I didn't know what would I do there. So I went to the lady who was running the club, and I said, my kids and my friend have sent me, but I don't really know what to do. And she said, why don't you go on stage for 5 minutes and you talk about whatever you think is funny? And I was like, anything? And she said, yeah, anything, whatever you think. There's no restriction. So I went up and I started trashing my mother-in-law. Because who doesn't think that's funny? I was like, I know what I'm going to talk about. Let's go.
Oh my God.
And I just went nuts. And people were dying. I mean, the audience was like, do more. And I was like, what is happening? White people do this? This is a job? I was so upset. I was like, I've been robbed of millions of dollars. I've been doing this my whole life. And I got off that stage, and the lady who ran the club, she said to me, you are so funny, but you don't have jokes. So I was like, oh my God, what is a joke? What is a joke? So I came home and I'm like, what is a joke on Google? And I learned how to write a joke. I was like, oh, this has to be you set up and then the punchline, and really like learn. And then once I understood what it is and what goes on, I was like, I think maybe I can give this a shot. And in New York City, the way it works is that in the beginning, if you bring 5 people, they call the show a bringer show. So if you bring 5 people that will support the venue by buying food or drinks, then the comedian who brought them can get 5 minutes on stage. Usually that's roughly about how it works. So they said to me, okay, come back with jokes. And if you bring 5 people, we'll put you on stage for 5 minutes. And I was like, okay. I have lived in New York City 20 something years. I have a lot of friends. And my Instagram was like 100 followers, my close friends. That's it. So I put up a flyer. I said, look, if 5 of you can make time to come, any 5 of you, I can get 5 minutes on stage. I just threw a flyer up there. 90 plus people showed up.
What?
90 people drove from Connecticut and New Jersey to see this Indian woman. I didn't even know. I was like, who are all you people?
So at any point, you're obviously putting yourself out there, right? You're telling people that you're doing this thing. Did you feel any weirdness about doing that or any sense of embarrassment?
No, because I really thought still for the longest time, for at least a year, we were like, we'll do a few of these. It'll be fun and then it'll be over. I really thought, okay, I'll do one bringer show. Okay, so I can tell my kids I tried it. And then that became the second bringer show. Okay, these 10 people said they want to come back. Fine, I'll do 10 more minutes. Okay. It really was completely an accidental organic growth. That's why I tell everybody, I'm not people, oh, she's living out her dreams. I didn't dream of this. I didn't even know you could dream of this.
Yeah. It wasn't in your wildest imagination.
No, not at all. I was just looking to have some work, to make some money, to be relevant in the world again. That I felt, when you're a stay-at-home mom, the stripping of your self-confidence is very real. It's like your inner being is just destroyed because you feel like the world just moved on at such a fast pace and you got left behind entirely. And I was looking for a foothold of relevance. That's what I was looking for. Something that made me feel like I too am a part of this world. So there was nothing to be embarrassed about. If I was telling 5 or 10 of my close friends stories of my life, that's not embarrassing, right?
That's just what you do.
So it felt like a dinner party that kind of just grew a little bit.
I love that. Now, to your point, you were a stay-at-home mom for 16 years. You dedicated your life to your kids. But I think what a lot of people don't know about you is prior to that, you were a lawyer. You immigrated to the U.S. because your father was originally trying to marry you off when you were a teen. You went to University of Akron. You studied law at Case Western. Did you consider going back to the legal field?
I couldn't because I was a really bad lawyer. It's like,
I find that hard to believe.
no, you don't know when you go to law school if you're going to be a good lawyer when you come out of it. Okay, I wasn't so bad. But, the real truth is that even now with 3 kids, my third is in elementary school. So the lifestyle restrictions on my life are very real. A corporate career, especially back when I was doing it 25 years ago, was completely unforgiving. There was no work from home. There was no take a Friday off. It was like put your suit on, put your high heels on, and show up every day at 7, 8, and stay till 7 or 8. So the truth was that even now, when my little one was in kindergarten, I couldn't figure out how to make it all work. My husband and I truly are immigrants in America in every sense of the word. We did everything by ourselves and we have no family in America. The only family I have is one sister who lives in Ohio, who's raising her own kids.
Yeah.
So who would have helped me? How would I have done it? So I knew I needed a situation that was more flexible. And I also really didn't think that was my calling, to be very honest. I felt like there was something else that I could do in this world that no one else was doing, where I could leave my imprint. This could be my thing. So I actually learned how to write a screenplay. I'm a self-taught screenwriter. I learned off of YouTube.
Wow.
And that screenplay is a rom-com. It's based on my own story of how I came here, and it's very funny. That screenplay ended up winning the top comedy writing prize at Austin Film Festival in 2019, which is the writers' film festival in America. Like the best of the best gets celebrated there. It's the Oscars for screenwriters. I beat out 11,000 something scripts.
Wow.
This is the trophy.
Oh my gosh.
So after winning that thing at that level where I'm sitting next to the guys who created Game of Thrones and the guys who created this show and that show, I had nothing to say to anybody and nobody had anything to say to me besides congratulations. Because I didn't come from that world. No one knew me and I didn't know them. So it was a lot of, okay, I won, but now what? Now nothing. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it was a very confusing time. And going back to law, the long answer to your question was that did not feel like that was going to work.
Yeah. I want to spend a second on you talking about how you weren't a part of this world and you won this massive award, but it still wasn't even clear what the next step was after winning something that major. I want to get into the nitty gritty. Tell me what it's taken. I remember when I first met you, I think a little over a year ago, we were at the dinner for Aparna Shokrawani's, the launch of her book.
Yeah.
And you were like, I'm sorry, I have to head out. I'm doing 3 shows tonight. Mm-hmm. You were like, the industry doesn't sleep. No. This is when I work. Tell me a little bit about all those things you did, whether it was coaches or working with people, or how did you push your way through that door, not knowing anyone or knowing this world?
Look, I will tell you this. This is something I've always pressed upon my kids, and I say to everybody, and I say to myself. The one thing that I've noticed in the world today, and especially in America, is that nobody seems to be taking pride in the job that they have and they're doing right now. Everybody's sights are on the next thing and the next thing and what's going to be the next thing. So once I realized I wanted to do the comedy, I was devoted to the comedy. When I'm at a show, all I'm doing is that show and delivering an amazing show. When I'm here with your podcast, my 100% attention is here and nothing else gets my attention. So what happened is that I kind of made the decision, okay, if I'm going to do comedy and I want to do this, I'm going to give it everything I have with all my heart, all my love, and every amount of energy and strategy that I can. For 2 reasons. One, that's the only way I think you can succeed at something. Honestly, you have to love it that much. And 2, I really saw a big business opening. Like in our culture, in the Indian Bollywood or even American Bollywoodish space, the South Asian creator space, there is no Melissa McCarthy. There is no Joan Rivers. Because we value being young and beautiful, there's a lot of beautiful young women playing leading ladies and models and all that. But women of a certain age have just not been included in any way. And maybe they haven't tried. Right. I don't know if it's the horse before the cart or what, or the chicken before the egg. I don't know what caused what, but I saw an opening. So I was like, I'm going to do everything I can to learn the basics, to get good at the fundamentals, to align myself with the great comics. I live in New York City. I've performed with the best of the best because I'm in New York and these are the places that I work in.
You have.
And then, of course, 1 year into my stand up comedy journey, the pandemic happened. Now, where did the pandemic start? It is China, it's the bat, we don't know. But like, right? I was like, I know where it started. It started in my mother-in-law's kitchen. She started this global pandemic to destroy my career. I swear to God, I was like, she did this. It has to
Oh
be
my
her.
gosh.
She's trying to take me down. She's trying to kill my career. I had just had my first sold out show at Caroline's on Broadway. And then the week after, New York City shut down.
Wow.
So you remember New York City, we were the epicenter of the epicenter for a long time.
Yeah. Especially for entertainment.
In everything. So I was like, what am I now saving the jokes for? We're all dying. It's over. So I started going out and doing shows on the streets, in the subway, on the bus, in Central Park. I had a Zarna auntie tree on Central Park, New York, because I would just throw a flyer up and be like, I'm doing a show. And I had a mobile speaker that JBL then outfitted me with a whole brand new state of the art. They're like, we love what you're doing so much. We want to be a part of this. And so all these vendors came out of nowhere and they're like, you can take our speaker. You can take our little wagon to pull the speaker along.
Oh my gosh. You were sponsored by JBL.
Yeah, I was. And they were so sweet and kind. And I was so scared. I'm going to lose the funny after all these years. Now I'm going to lose it because of the pandemic. But I just kept going. I was like, I'm not going to stop now under any circumstances. And I just kept going. And somewhere along the way, in those street shows, Kevin Hart's people found me. That's how I got found. Wow. I didn't know anybody and they didn't know me, but they knew that there was a Indian woman doing something that was attracting like a lot of people. So my Central Park Auntie Z tree shows started. The first show we did, I gathered around 2-3 comics. I'm like, let's just do a show in the park. And then they're like, we need a permit. I don't have time to get the permit. They're not going to give us a permit because social distancing was all the thing back then. So we were like, look, if they chase us away, we'll go to a new. So we literally, as a group, with people watching, we're like, you have to get out of here. So we all ran to another tree.
Oh my gosh.
And the first show we did was like 4 people, a dog, an ambulance, and a helicopter. But after a year and a half, the last show that I did was the Diwali show for 2020. 200 families came out for that. 200 families to the park. We called a dhol guy. We called a DJ with our mobile speaker. We sang, we danced. We literally had the time of our lives under that tree. And we had done a comedy.
Wow.
I built that. I'm so proud because again, it was free. There was no ticket, nothing. I did it as a community service. I was like, just come. We're all laughing. The neighborhood that I live in has 3 hospitals right around my house. So it's tons of doctors, nurses, people who are first responders who are dying to laugh. I was like, you know what? We just do this and it goes where it goes.
So through all of this, you're hustling, you're fighting through the pandemic. You also shifted to doing a lot more online. You grew your TikTok and Instagram base. Did you have a making it moment? Was it when Kevin Hart's people found you? Like, have you had that moment yet?
No, I don't feel like I'm making it even now. I'm like, I'm still struggling. I've got crazy amount of hate coming from India, from like random people, and who knows? I don't even think in terms of making it. That's not what I'm looking for. I feel like I'm on a beautiful journey. I feel like I'm on a path and I want to do what I can to be a positive addition to this world now. I have so much respect for comedians and comics and what they do because it's such a hard job and they put everything aside to make people laugh. It's such a beautiful thing. Like, even though my kids are never allowed to be artists, I personally think that the artist world is so beautiful. It's really selfless in a way that I never knew things could exist in that way. I come from a world, and I'm sure you relate, where whatever you're doing, but what money are you going to make?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Especially if it's creative.
100%. And then if the answer is, I don't know, then you can't do it.
Yeah.
But I'm now surrounded by people who are like, you know what? I don't care if I make money. I just want to do it. It has been the most inspiring thrill ride of my life to be surrounded by these people and to learn how they live and how they cultivate their passions. Of course, I run a real business because whether I like it or not, I have 3 kids who are very
Yeah.
expensive and they are like a million bills. So I'm very true to the business side of it. I'm building a whole business. But it's been so motivating to see that this world exists and to be a part of it. It's an honor.
I want to double down on this vein because I feel like you really embrace the paradox that you are. Like, on one hand, you lean into a lot of the stereotypes about Indian immigrant parents being strict, being a helicopter parent, not letting your kids pursue the arts. But you're also the antithesis of what traditional looks like. You're a stand-up comedian. Which one is the real you? How do you manage this balance of these competing personas?
It's all the real me. And that's how life is. No one is consistently the same of anything. We are all contradictions. How can you not be? We all have decisions we made in our life where we ourselves are like, I can't believe I did that. Or what was I thinking? And yet at the time, it made all the sense in the world. And I own it. Like, my kids are like, oh, you're being such a hypocrite. I'm like, I know. And I can be because I'm your mom. You be a hypocrite when you have kids. I love torturing my kids.
I'll let people watch this special, but just hearing about you and making sure that Zoya pursues something in STEM and not the arts, it's hilarious.
Yeah. No, and I mean it. People do ask me, they're like, do you really mean it? I'm like, yeah. Yeah, it's a very expensive college and she better learn everything about computers. I don't care what she like. No. No. It's not happening in my watch.
You had me on the floor. I gotta ask, there are obviously a lot of aspiring comics, and we see even more people in the South Asian community who I think feel a little bit more comfortable, at least being loud and proud that they're pursuing this. What do you feel has set you apart? And do you think the fact that your Indian auntie persona has lended to that?
I think for better or for worse, what you see with me on stage or on screen is 100% me. And it's, again, not by design. I didn't sit there and have an epiphany of a moment like, oh, I should be true to me. I don't know how to not be me. So part of what has helped me is that the real in me has recognized the real in all the people that follow me and watch my work. And there is a connection that is formed when you're that authentic that I really believe is very powerful. And for all the young comics, I give them the same advice. I tell them, I go, look, you have to strip the filter. Because when you have a filter and you're doing something you think people want to see, people know that you're manipulating what you're putting out there. The audience is so smart. And if you look at the most successful creators, the most successful entrepreneurs right now, they get in trouble every day because they're saying and doing things that are not right, that are not appropriate.
Cancel culture.
But they are authentic. And that's why people follow them. They are real and people want real above everything else. So in my case, I don't know how not to be. I'm telling you, like right now, I want to come out of my screen and be like, don't be a podcaster. There's no money in it.
You and my parents, don't worry.
So I think that I really benefited from whatever this madness is, just being out in an accidental, authentic, real form. That's why I don't go out of my way to do hair and makeup and lashes, and I don't have designer clothes. My audience doesn't come to me for that. Yeah. It's not like I'm a threat to Priyanka Chopra. If they have her for the whole outfitting, they have Deepika. There's a million people that if you want to see how to look a certain way, they're all out there. Go get them. They come to me for whatever this craziness is.
Well, it's the craziness we love. Earlier, you alluded to the hate that you get. And I think that's obviously a byproduct of being real, of stripping the filter and saying what you want to say. Just recently, you posted about how a lot of Hindu nationalists have been sending you these incredibly hateful emails and notes because you made a joke mentioning Hindu gods. How do you cope with that?
I try my best to ignore it. I've spoken to other people who've gone through a version of it or are constantly being dragged for various reasons. And everybody says the same thing. Look, at the end of the day, your work has to speak for itself. And of course, it affects you when hundreds of something coming at you is scary. It affects your psyche and they get vicious. And the easiest thing, you face, you're fat, you're this, you're, like all these things that no one in America would even think of doing openly anymore. But the world that we come from, it's all completely okay to say these things. So I have my moments of being upset about it, but by and large, the amount of love I see is so much greater than all of that. This past weekend, we just did 5 sold out shows in Connecticut. 5 out of 5 shows sold out.
Wow.
So much love in the room that I have to focus on that. I can't waste my time focusing on 10 guys in India who are living with their moms and just sitting and texting all day. I try my best to step away from that.
Yeah. It seems like you got a lot of unconditional support from your family. I mean, to your point, your kids are the ones who pushed you to pursue this in the first place. Has that always been the case? I mean, did you ever get pushback, especially when you started to blow up between your husband and your 3 kids?
No, they've been, listen, they owe me, okay? I'm the first to remind them. I was like, do you know what it was like to stand in the rain for your freaking flag football lesson class for like 9 hours? People think Asian parenting, like tiger parenting, or being a tiger mom is really hard work. Because the mom's got to show up and sit there through all this. That I don't want to do this. So my kids, and they luckily they don't even question it. They're so supportive. My husband is most supportive. I think initially he was like, oh, the woman will be busy. He was like, she will stop complaining about I need to figure out what to do and do something. But ever since this has started gaining momentum, and he also sees the love and the joy that we spread everywhere we go. It's like, oh my God, your wife made us laugh. So much positivity. What is there not to get behind? But I do want to make a note here because your podcast, South Asian Trailblazers, and I want to make a note about the South Asian community. My success is the direct result of our community coming together for me.
Wow.
The Indian community has supported me in numbers and in ways that I could have never imagined. Every show is packed with desis and so much love. Like even the desis that hate each other, they put their hate aside and they all come to my shows together.
Wow.
Indian aunties have propelled my work from a small club to this global stage. It's them. I credit my aunties, my Indian aunties, and now global aunties because all these other cultures, women have all started responding to the same things. But it was the Indian community at first that came for my first show, second show, third show, that heard the same joke over and over and over again. And they came, but they just came to help me keep going forward. I have such a debt of gratitude to our community. I couldn't have imagined it. Because in our community, we are always like, oh, we don't support each other. Indians don't support it. But the Indian women, in my case, oh, the amount of love. It makes me cry every time I think about it.
It's so beautiful to hear you say this. And I'm also glad you pointed out because I do think people have a tendency to stereotype and say, we aren't collaborative, we're very competitive. And that hasn't been my experience either. And I feel like people go out of their way to try and lift each other up. And so, does any part of you feel like, especially the Indian aunties, both here and globally, are supporting you also because they see a piece of themselves in you?
Yeah, of course they do. And they all understand that we need to be a part of this world. Yes, I think intellectually, they all are like, this is hilarious. Okay, we have all laughed with other comics, right? I watched Russell Peter. I'm a big fan, big fan. I've laughed with Jerry Seinfeld. I've laughed with Ellen DeGeneres. But how much of Roseanne Barr's material is going to resonate with us?
Yeah.
It's not our life. It's not our experience. So to hear our life and shared experience is exciting. It's exhilarating. And that's why, like, you watch the special, you're in a position to judge the authenticity of the stuff that I talk about. Is it or is it not a real Indian experience?
It is. And as I said before, it transcends generations. I'm going to sit down with my parents to watch it in 30 minutes because it's something that we can laugh at together. And I think that's a real skill to be able to do that.
I think our community has waited long enough. Honestly, if not me, somebody else, but we've waited long enough to have that ability to just laugh and poke fun at ourselves and not take ourselves so seriously and not be like stressed out all the time. I get elderly Indians all the time, people who've lived in America 60, 70 years, they start crying when they see me. They're like, for the first
Wow.
time with your work, we feel like we're laughing at something we understand. Because 50 years, they've been laughing at jokes that they don't even get.
Yeah.
When they watch Friends, do you think they're relating to it? Do you think they're relating to that life? But because they
No.
live here, they watch all that stuff and they laugh at it with their kids because they're trying to like blend it. So many of them reach out to me. They're like, with your work, for the first time, we feel like our life is up there.
Wow. In this vein, can you share with me a particular poignant or emotional moment where you saw the impact your work as a comedian was having?
There's a lot of actually heavy moments. I get emails and work requests from India a lot. And often they're sad requests, like somebody's relative is at Memorial Sloan Kettering going through a very serious treatment or in the end stage of their life for whatever their circumstance might be. And because it's so expensive to be here, often that person is here alone. Their family can't even afford to be here with them. So I get calls and emails saying, can we hire you to go and meet them and hold their hand and make them laugh? They're probably not going to make it through the next 2, 3 weeks. We don't know. But we just want somebody we know and trust to go and check on them. And I don't even know what to say that I'm in this position to do this and I do it all the time. I'm supposed to go there and make this person laugh. That's my job. But the situation and the circumstance is so sad and lonely because this person who's like barely able to function at all is like looking at me as if a family member has arrived.
Wow.
Because they've been watching my TikTok videos or Instagram videos, and there's a familiarity that makes them feel like we're connected.
Absolutely.
And I have to hold their hand and crack jokes about like how stupid is this world? Like this world is that worth living in, you know, because I know what I'm there to do. So I do that. And then one of the first virtual gigs I did was actually the funeral of a friend of mine's husband. Her husband's friends hired me to do a funeral event online. He died during COVID and said he would have never wanted people to cry. So we want to hire you to make fun of everybody during this funeral event. And I took that job on, honestly, like in a state of panic. Like I was like, I don't know, this seems like a lot. But I said, I'm going to try my best. And it was the funniest night we had online.
Wow.
People were laughing and crying simultaneously the whole hour.
We often hear about comedians and the driving force behind their work. They want to put a smile on people's faces. They want to bring people laughter during difficult times. What is that for you? What special message do you want to leave with your audiences?
I want the world to know that brown women have a right to laugh equal to everybody else. We don't owe anybody an apology for making a mother-in-law joke, for making a culture joke, a religion joke, or whatever joke. I'm the biggest proponent of our rights. And believe it or not, there are entire nations where women are watching my videos in hiding. My videos.
Yeah.
What am I doing? I'm not doing anything. I'm literally not doing anything that's illegal, that's off color, nothing. And yet, in the cultures that we come from, there are so many heavy restrictions on how women are expected to be, how women are expected to behave, and all of that. And I really believe that destiny put me on this path for a real reason. And that reason is to represent accurately and with pride the world that I come from. So I am now the most vocal advocate of freedom of speech for us and our culture in particular.
Yeah. I feel like you have obviously a very deep and personal experience with this, just given your story of immigrating to the US. I know you lost your mother at a relatively young age. You were a teenager.
Yeah.
Your father just wanted to marry you off and said either you get married or you leave. And so you literally immigrated to America at such a young age. You put yourself through school, put yourself through law school. What would you say to 14-year-old Zarna now?
Oh my God. I would be like, think again before you leave. At the time, my dad was like, you need to get out. I was like, okay, I'll go have a slumber party with my friends. I was not even 15. And at 15, when somebody says you need to leave from home, you think you're going to have a pajama party for life. And then after 2 days of being at my friend's house and my friend's mom saying, I think you need to go back to your mom or your dad, I was like, oh my God, oh shit, I have nowhere to go. So I don't know. I mean, I was being facetious. I would say do exactly what you did. There's no 2020 fixing in life. I don't believe in regrets. Everything happened for a reason, the way it was meant to happen. And everything that happened that was weird has brought me to this stage where I can talk about those weird things and make light of it.
Yeah. In your daughter Zoya's college essay, which as we talked about was published in the New York Times, she talks about how she observed you being a stay-at-home mom who really craved to pursue her passions and earn financial freedom.
Yeah.
And now you're a professional comedian. You have awards and accolades. You have a comedy special. You have an upcoming tour and all this under your belt. What would you say to the other stay-at-home moms who are out there looking for that same encouragement, who have that same yearning to follow their dreams?
Couple of things. A lot of women in particular are like, I want to do something, but I don't know what to do. And I get that feeling entirely because not everybody's dream is so clearly defined. There are many of us who are like, I want to do something, but I don't know what it is. So in my case, what led to this journey was actually a reflection of what I was already doing. I tell people, if you don't know what to do, you need to reflect on what you're already doing. What do you do in your free time? What brings you joy? And the beauty of the world we live in right now is that everything can be monetized. I have friends who are professional closet organizers who are making six figures. I have friends who love vegan cooking, vegan appetizers only, and they have a thriving business doing that. I have friends who are like, I love to style people's wardrobes. All my life, I love clothes. And then that's become a business. I think the world I came from, there were 2, 3 jobs: doctor, accountant, lawyer. Today, I say to everybody, whatever it is that you actually already like doing, dig into that space and be like, how can I do more of this and do it for other people and charge them money? Because that's where your special juice is. And I think that everybody's got something. I mean, look at Marie Kondo. She became a global sensation telling people throw shit out.
I know. I love this advice because I've been thinking about this too in the context of my own career. And I've just started to think, what is it that I already spend my day on?
Yes.
And I choose to spend my day on. So no, I think that's beautiful advice. I've referenced a lot of the projects and things that have come your way, and I actually want to spend some time talking about them. One of which includes being featured in Hillary and Chelsea Clinton's new docuseries Gutsy, which profiles notable and inspiring women. You also have some incredible upcoming projects, including starring in a film with Garg and Sony of Deadpool fame. Talk to me about the Clinton project. Talk to me about this upcoming film and what else is on the horizon.
So the Clinton project was very cool. Gutsy is a docuseries on Apple TV, and it highlights women who are doing interesting, brave, path-breaking work in different aspects of life, like science, medicine, law, adventure. And I was featured in their comedy series. Again, discovered by somebody who saw my work and who was like, this is something we haven't seen before. It's revolutionary. So that's how I came to be a part of that series. Was, of course, the most inspiring team you can imagine: Hillary, Chelsea, Bill. And when I met Bill Clinton at the premiere party for it, actually bumped into him accidentally because I was walking out of one way and me and my daughter bumped into him. And when I bumped into him, I looked up and I was like, oh, hello, because it's a moment of like, oh, getting startled. And he said, I agree with you. Your son is the more important one.
Oh my gosh.
And I looked at my daughter. I said, am I imagining? And she asked him, should you know her jokes? And he's like, and you don't need to be doing what you're doing at Stanford. Ah! I was like, what? And then he said, we watch your jokes at home. And I was like, so, like, who is we? Because is he following me and I don't know? Because I don't keep track. I'm so auntie. I don't even know who's following me, who's not following me. I just keep going, doing my thing.
Except your mother-in-law on TikTok.
She stalks me. She makes sure I know that she's watching. That's a whole another level of stalking that we won't even right now. Like, I'm not going to get into it. But you know what I mean? Like, I had a moment of like, oh my God, he knows what I do and what I've said. So that was a surreal moment. He knew my jokes. He was repeating my jokes to me.
Yeah, Bill Clinton was quoting you back to you. That's amazing.
It was wild, absolutely wild. And what was the other project you had? Oh, Karan Soni. Yes, I am doing a movie with him. I can't talk about it too much, but it's going to be coming very soon. And I'm playing his mom, which I love. And I have so much love for Karan. He, in his own way, is breaking all kinds of barriers for South Asians. And when he approached me and he's like, I really want you to do this. I'm not an actress. I told him, I said, listen, I don't want to harm your project in any way. If you can get a real actress who wants to do this and who's good at it, just fire me right there. It's fine. Because whatever is good for your project, you need to do that. And he was really insistent. He's like, yeah, I'm telling you, you're the one. This is going to be so fun.
Wow.
And he had faith in me. So I kind of had faith in myself. Him and the director were like, we really think you can do this. And then that's how that project came about.
Wow.
But I have a lot. I just opened for Tina Fey and Amy Poehler on the road. They are on tour right now. So everybody who's listening, if you see a Tina Fey, Amy Poehler show near you, go, go, go. And I opened for them 5 shows in Washington, D.C. at a very historic venue, the Dar Constitutional Hall. Daughters of American Revolution, very feminist. Oh my God, it was such an inspiring set of shows because all these women came together and laughed about their lives and all the funny things they've done. So it's been a very fun ride.
Wow. And I have to ask how your Amazon special came to fruition and what do you want people to take away from it?
Listen, again, they found me. I was busy doing my shows the way I did and I got an email and I was like, what is this? And that's how it really came up. We think you have something here. And I'm telling you that the one thing that I do right, I do many things wrong, but one thing that I do right is that when an opportunity presents itself, I just go for it. Because I don't have the time to second guess myself. I don't have, oh, maybe I'll be more ready in 2 years. I'm past that fear. I'm here now and I started late already. So I have a lot of catching up to do. So when somebody says, we think you can do it, I'm like, if you think I can do it, then I will do it. Let's go do it.
Well, for what it's worth, to me, it feels like you're right on time.
I hope. Oh, you're so sweet. You're so sweet. And I loved that you already watched it and enjoyed it. It made my day that you said that.
Oh, no, of course. And like I said, it's queued up for my parents and they'll be watching it shortly and I'll have a ton of feedback from them for you.
That is the number one feedback I'm getting is that people who are watching it are setting up watch parties with their families, their cousins. They're like, let's do this together all over again. And it's making me so happy because as a mom, I'm always looking for things to do with my kids and my family because we watch so few things together anymore.
Well, and it's so relatable. I was listening to it and I was like, this isn't just something that like humor my generation will understand. My parents will too. And to your point, it's so rare for us to find things where that overlap exists.
We can all connect. I mean, I have 3 kids. So it's like, I'm always looking, what should we watch? What should we watch? So the fact that my work, and it's the number one feedback I'm getting across cultures, across the board, on the street, everywhere. Oh my God, we watched it and now we're having a watch party with our friends, our neighbor. Yesterday, somebody was at a wedding and they said the entertainment was my special on a big screen.
Wow.
I was like, oh my God, what? So I'm just, it's making me happy that people are coming together as a family unit and enjoying it. That's all. I'll take any love, but this is making me really happy.
Well, I think it's a credit to you.
As a mom, I'm desperate. You know, I'm sure your mom is always, let's do something together. You know, what can we do?
Yes, especially with shows. And there's so few times where we can find things that we both, I mean, comedy we've never watched together because it's just, So I'm literally have it queued up on the TV right now. I said, you guys can't start without me. I'm about to go record the podcast with her and then we're going to go watch it. Your work obviously addresses the experience of women, people of color, the Indian and broader South Asian community. And you also tend to draw a lot of inspiration from your family. I mean, your mother-in-law, your kids, your husband. How do you approach balancing humor while still acknowledging the gravity of the issues that you're sometimes talking about? And has it been challenging drawing from these personal interactions you have with family members?
Look, I come from a place of extreme respect and love. Everything that I talk about is stuff that I care about and love. I'm not the Indian TMZ. I'm not doing exposés. I have no desire to embarrass anybody. That's not my vibe at all in real life or on my work. Of course, it's hard to talk about tough topics, but because I come from the place I come from, I'm very confident in how I position it. Because I'm genuinely not out there trying to trash Indians or trash immigrants or trash America. People often tell me that when they come to my shows, they feel like they took a trip to India, that they feel like they just traveled and came back.
I love that.
And I love that it makes them feel like a positive vibe about like this whole world and experience. And I just have to be confident in who I really am. I'm not a hateful person. If a mistake happens along the way and I say something, I will apologize for it if it comes to that. But other than that, I don't overthink it. I just keep pressing forward, knowing that in my bones, I know who I am.
Absolutely. The world of comedy has evolved so much over the past few decades. Greater representation of women, people of color, and of course, even the nature of comedy has changed so much. What mark do you want to leave on this industry and space?
She was a clean South Asian family comedian that brought families from all over the world and different cultures together into her world. I want every culture to come in and celebrate how we live, our quirks, our idiosyncrasies. I want the Brazilians, the Argentinians, the Ethiopians, the Mexicans, the Americans, the Canadians, the Australians, like whoever I've left out, I want them all in and I want them to share in the joy of who we are as a people. The same way that we have embraced their culture and their love in different ways. I watch Fluffy, Gabriel Iglesias, the comedian. When I watch him, I'm not thinking he's Mexican, he's American. I just can't get enough of him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I hope that when people see me, they feel the same way, that this is this whole Indian world that we didn't know about. And now we're getting to know all the little, what do we call each other, and our nicknames and our little like secrets that I like to share. And I hope that everybody feels welcome with joy in our lives.
Absolutely. Through the shared language that is laughter.
Yeah.
When I was watching your special, you said the word bichara at one point. And I said, I don't think I ever thought in my life I would hear that in an Amazon Prime comedy. So it's just a small thing, right? But it felt like a really resonant moment of we've arrived. Our language is on the main stage. Yeah. How cool is that?
And I think we didn't even translate it, if I'm not mistaken. Most things, if I say something in Hindi, I translate it for the audience. But that word, the way it's positioned, it's so obvious what it is that I didn't feel like I needed to say anything about it.
No, it was beautiful. Yeah. So now I have to ask, you've learned how to write screenplays, you do stand-up, you're going to star in this film. What's next for you? I mean, what else are you imagining and envisioning for yourself as you continue to build your business?
Listen, there's a couple of TV projects that are being discussed and in various stages of development. My objective is to continue with how I have been, which is to go live wherever I can and digitally and spread the joy, spread the love, and whatever comes of it will come of it. I'm not overthinking it to the nth degree. I am working on the next hour. In fact, it's already started to take shape. So I do know that I will film the next hour at some point next year. And that's where we are. I don't really believe that you have to orchestrate everything. You just have to have your North Star clear. And in my case, my North Star is very clear. I want to be the voice of that South Asian family comedy experience to the world. And I will just keep chasing that North Star. And then whoever is interested in aligning with that North Star, whether it's a TV or a movie or a this or a that, then they know where to find me. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Absolutely.
And it kind of simplifies also the manicness of my life because I still have a day job, night job, weekend job, yelling at my kids. So I can't be taken away from that. I try to keep everything very simple.
Yeah.
I am a clean family South Asian comic. And anybody who's looking to work with that knows where to find me.
Yes, they do. Zarna, thank you so much for taking the time to share your story with me. I mean, what an incredible journey you've charted. And it's just amazing to hear all the intention and lack of intention behind it and how candid you are. So thank you. And thank you for all that you're doing. And I cannot wait to see the heights you're going to reach.
You're so sweet. Thank you so much. The same for you. I know that you're one of the few South Asian women in the podcasting industry and killing it across the board. I look forward to your episodes all the time because I want to know who's doing what, and you're at the forefront of that. And many, many blessings. I still think take the CPA exam on the side, but that's just me. That's just me. That's just me being me.
My parents are going to love this.
Yes.
Zarna, thank you so much for being here. Everyone, please be sure and go and check out her comedy special. It's out on Amazon Prime now. It's called One in a Billion. Zarna, thanks so much again for being here.
Thank you. Namaste.
Thanks for joining us for today's episode. If you want to get new episodes straight to your inbox, subscribe to our newsletter at southasiantrailblazers.com and follow us at South Asian Trailblazers on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn.